Right, good evening and welcome to Hot News. We are live on Pan-African Television. We are also live on Facebook at Pan-African Television, as well as 48 African countries. Those of you watching us on Facebook can share the Facebook Live for other people to also watch tonight's edition of the program. You can join in the conversation also by sending in your views, comments, and contributions on our WhatsApp/text line displayed on the screen. We'll make a time and read all those stuff for you. My name is Justice Appiah. Tonight on Hot News, we are discussing the finance minister's press conference on measures, to address the current economic situation or the current economic challenges that the country has found itself. Well, there are some few things the finance minister has mentioned. According to him, some resolutions arrived at, include the ministers and all of that, cutting down their salaries and all of that. And of course, he has indicated that 52 million Ghana cedis to accrue from 50% cut on fuel coupon for government appointees and all of that. Apart from that, fuel has been decreased by some 15 pesos only. Among other measures, government is looking forward to putting in place and all of that to make sure that we generate some revenue for the country. Without wasting much time, let's listen to the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, addressing, the media.
Addressing the media on measures adopted by government to revive the economy, he explained that the rising fuel prices at the pump are largely influenced by the rising crude oil prices on the international market and exchange rate depreciation, hence the increase in petroleum products. According to him, while the rise in crude oil prices in international markets should have benefited the country on a net basis, Ghana's imports of petroleum products amounted to 5.2 times the value of its crude oil export proceeds.
Fuel price mitigation measures. Ladies and gentlemen, the rising prices of fuel at the pumps is influenced largely by the rising crude oil price on the international market and the exchange rate depreciation. Though the rise in crude oil prices should have been to our benefit on net basis, Ghana's import of petroleum products are mitigation measures. Ladies and gentlemen, the rising prices of fuel at the pumps is influenced largely by the rising crude oil price on the international market and the exchange rate depreciation. Though the rise in crude oil prices should have been to our benefit on net basis, Ghana's import of petroleum products amounts to 5.2 times the value of proceeds from its crude oil exports. In 2021, for example, we exported $3.947 billion of crude, of which Ghana's portion was $513 million. However, we imported $119 of crude and finished products. So the purported windfall gain in foreign exchange is quite a mirage. From January to date, the average export price of diesel and petrol have increased by 57% and 45% respectively. Unlike in other countries where the hike in crude oil prices and exchange rate volatility are leading to shortages in supply of petroleum products, government is implementing measures to guarantee constant supply of petroleum products. To mitigate the impact of the rising price of petroleum products at the pump for the next 3 months, government has decided to reduce margins in petroleum price buildup by a total of 15 pesos per litre with effect from 1st April. The details are as follows: bus margin reduced by 2 pesos per litre, Unified Petroleum Pricing Fund margin reduced by 9 pesos per litre, fuel marking margin reduced by 1 peso per litre, primary distribution margin reduced by 3 pesos per litre.
The finance minister Ken Ofori-Atta. So right after his press conference, we have been speaking to the member of parliament for Nshaeso constituency, Honorable Stephen Amoah, popularly known as Sticker. He has actually shared his thoughts on the situation. Let's listen to him.
The allowances, are they not expenditures? They are all outlays. Are they not affecting government coffers or budget? It is. So I really don't understand. The fact is, I think even previously, the previous regime, there was a time they were confronted with similar but less impact. They actually reduced emoluments of the executives by, I think, 10%. You remember? Or they wanted to do cheap compounds. You remember? So it's not the first time. In any case, I think it's a good news. It's good news because whenever you have problems with your fiscal space, what you need to do is to look through your discretionary spending arm of your budget. That is where you have the discretion, your exclusive right to either increase or decrease or add. And this is exactly what this government is. Already we cut 20%. We still think the impact is severe, so we want to do something more. If you really love Ghana, if you are really here as a member of parliament, as a government appointee, and you really, in fact, I haven't read the entire document as I'm speaking, so I can't say whether that is 100% true or not, but even if it is true, myself and my other colleagues, my friends, we will embrace it. I'm not saying the whole of majority, but I'm speaking for myself and the few people that I've spoken to. We are ready to offer everything to salvage this country, just like any other country in the world. What we have, the problem we have today, it's not the fault of the present leadership. It's a global issue. Look at US, about 40-year high inflationary rate. UK, 30-year high inflationary rate. What are we talking about? Depreciation rate of Egypt now is over 14%. Ask yourself, before the COVID and then Ukraine and the unprecedented height of the fuel or petroleum product prices, what was the cedi depreciation? In the year 2020, it was 3.9, the best in Africa. The year 2021, it was 3.941 or 4, the best in Africa. We were growing 7% average between 2017 and 19 before the COVID. So why people are so being politically oriented, said that they don't want to speak the truth, and the media and other experts who are supposed to also let Ghanaians know as moderators the truth, they are not. In any case, with even this global crisis, a lot more of the economic indicators are better today than we took over. Interest rate was about 37, 30, getting to 40. Go ask the banks there. Now you get some 20. Even the policy rate that is about 17, now that people are talking, we took over 25.5% policy rate under the NDC. Reserve is over 4 months now, it's about 4.3. It was less than 3 months. If T-bills are going up, it means the economy is doing so bad. T-bills for the same period was about 22.5%. Now it's about 12-14%. Our GDP is not growing because of impaired productivity. It's not because of call any professor to debate me, and let's call foreign experts to come and do that. If you have impaired productivity for over 20 months, hospitals, restaurants, companies, even now, there are state agencies in Ghana here, they run 2-week shift. They go 2 weeks unless the next month 2 weeks, and they are blaming the government. Blaming the government that through no fault of the government, private sector sacked over 40,000 workers. It's the government fault. Won't that affect productivity? Look, even with the debt portfolio, take away GDP growth, because that one is not government fault. Between the year...
That was the Member of Parliament for Nshaeso constituency, Honorable Stephen Amoah, popularly known as Sticker. But I'll take you through, the full list of the measures, put in place to make sure that we see an end to the economic challenges or hardship we are going through. I will take you through all the interventions, mentioned by the finance minister. The very first one says, discretionary spending is to be further cut by an additional 10%. 50% cut in fuel coupon allocations for all political appointees and heads of government institutions, including SOEs, effective 1st April 2022. Imposition of a complete moratorium on the purchase of imported vehicles for the rest of the year with immediate effect. This will affect all new orders, especially four-wheel drives. This is geared towards reducing total vehicle purchase by the public sector by at least 50% for the period. Government has imposed a moratorium on all foreign travels except pre-approved critical statutory travels. Government will conclude ongoing measures to eliminate ghost workers from government payroll by end of December 2022. Government will conclude the renegotiation of the energy sector IPP's capacity charges by the end of Q3 2022 to further reduce excess capacity payments by 20% to generate a total savings of 1.5 billion Ghana cedis. Impose a moratorium on establishment of new public sector institutions by end of April 2022. Prioritize ongoing public projects over new projects to enhance the efficient use of limited public funds over the period by finishing ongoing or stalled but approved projects. Reduce expenditure on all meetings and conferences by 50% effective immediately. Heads of SOEs to contribute 30% of their salaries from April to December 2022 to the Consolidated Fund. Pursue a comprehensive reprofiling strategies to reduce the interest expenses burden on the fiscal and liaise with organized labor and employers association to implement with immediate effect the measures captured in the Kwao Declaration of the 2022 National Labour, including reforms towards addressing salary inequalities. Inequalities, example, Article 71, office holders, the weak link between pay to productivity and sustainability of the payroll. Government, of course, there is something on fuel price mitigation measures taken by government. Government has committed to reducing margins in the petroleum price build-up by a total of 15 pesos per litre with effect from 1st April. The reductions are expected to reduce prices of petrol by 1.6% and diesel by 1.4%. The details are as follows. Bust margin reduced by 2 pesos per litre. Unified Petroleum Pricing Fund margin reduced by 9 pesos per litre. Fuel marketing margin reduced by 1 peso per litre. Primary distribution margin reduced by 3 pesos per litre. National Petroleum Authority in discussion with the OMCs to reduce their margins. Government to ensure consistent supply of fuel and manage the rate of export price increase by ensuring that BOG has access to adequate foreign exchange. Well, it goes on and on and on. We can talk about revenue mobilization measures, financing and currency measures, as well as additional measures over the medium term and of course the long term as well. But well, I'll be joined in the studio by Mr. Solomon Usu, who is a member of the New Patriotic Party communications team. Mr. Usu, how are you doing? Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for inviting me to
Right, it's been a while.
Battling with
that's true. Very soon I'll finish. Right, I'll finish, God willing, Sunday.
Sure.
Also in the studio is Elikem Kotoko. He's a member of he's a member of the National Democratic Congress communications team. Elikem, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Don't do the mistake of calling me the other side.
Right.
You would agree with me that we are in the woods, and the very people who have placed us there have still not manned up enough to say candidly they have put us
fantastic measures to get us out of the woods, so.
I don't know.
Is that not it?
I don't know what can be called fantastic.
You've listened to some of the measures government is trying to put in place to make sure that we're out of the woods.
Let's be very frank with ourselves. I mean, the mediocrity that has been expressed out there by government is further an insult to Ghanaians.
I see.
And even to themselves as well, that they have become bereft of ideas and lack the know-how to steward this country towards the right direction.
What, in your estimation, do you think government could have done better than
I know we
what has
don't
been
have
done
much
so far?
time, but if I may ask, for instance, I will still keep saying this, that if till date, Ken Ofori-Atta could not find wisdom to even tell us that the decision by the road minister to call for a cessation of the collection of road tolls, which was generating 6, 7, 8 million monthly, was not a mistake and should be reversed immediately. Then, for instance, there's no need even having the road fund levy, which is part of the price build-up of the petroleum price that we are paying. So there are a lot more that can be done there rather than what has been thrown out there to us. And it's very surprising to hear the finance minister at one point seeking the help of the minority and at the same time calling them names and expecting them to cooperate with them. I must be very frank with you.
What names did he call them?
He said we are the NDC and the minority are naysayers. And you see,
are you not naysayers indeed?
Not at
by
all.
kicking against a lot of measures government would want to put in place.
A lot of measures that the NDC and the minority has kicked against has been in the proud interest of Ghanaians and has saved Ghanaians. They have suggested
to the legislature to, of course, accept a pay cut. The minority, some members of the minority came out and kicked against it strongly, vehemently.
Justice, I am sorry, but that decision that was taken was one of the most nonsensical ones that has just been
nonsensical
taken.
Decisions?
Yes. Let me be frank with you on why.
What makes it nonsensical?
Yes, it is just a populist decision to take in order to make Ghanaians feel that, oh, government is cutting its pay by 30%.
Was it a populist decision when John Mahama, former president of the Republic of Ghana, did same? When
John Mahama didn't have to wait for
John Mahama,
you see, John Mahama didn't have to wait for things to get this worse. Can you imagine the hypocrisy of a president who is irresponsible, reckless, and insensitive to the plight of Ghanaians? When the president was flying those luxurious
reckless, insensitive?
Yes, insensitive and irresponsible. When President Ronaldo was flying in those luxurious jets all over globe-trotting and we were screaming, telling him it was too expensive, the taxpayer could not take that burden.
Right.
They told us that we should shut up, it was a matter of national security and we need not even know the cost of that. Today, not long ago, the president was on a commercial flight to Dubai.
That was a good thing.
What happened? Is it no longer a matter of national security? So this is a regime that is not even aware the mess they have put us in until when reality dawns on them. Then they now tell us they are pumping 2 billion into the economy. 2 billion to do what?
Right.
How long can that be sustainable? Another example is the borders. You know, you and I have talked extensively on our land borders. That has been closed for close to 2 years.
Right.
Why were the borders closed for this long? Government forgot that it was supposed to be raking in some revenue even from the land borders. But it thought because those people living at most of these borders do not constitute the stronghold of the governing party, so they could do anything to them. Now that reality has dawned on you and you realize that it is affecting you economically, you quickly are rushing to say that you want to open the land borders. You want to open the land borders, but you've not found wisdom to now call to reverse the decision to stop collecting road tolls. So if you look at all this, and I was listening to Stephen Amoah talking about 2017 growth. What exactly did they do in 2017? It was the fruit of 2016 that they were seeing or harvesting in 2017.
Right.
The actual economy started from 2018. And when they want to make assertions that it is because of Ukraine, what do we call it? The Russian incursion in Ukraine, etc. We cannot rule that out.
Right.
But the cedi began depreciating long before ago.
But you cannot also talk about the economic situation that we have found ourselves without talking about COVID.
That is true. But COVID
has ravaged most economies, including that of Ghana.
That is why Ghanaians cannot take this government serious. At one point, they are the same ones who come with trumpet all over, all with the vuvuzela. Saying that they have been recognized as having managed COVID very well, effectively, efficiently. Then at another point, they are telling you and I the same COVID has ravaged the economy so much. The likes of Ken Ofori-Atta are milking this economy dry. His company, his enterprise, what's the name? is it data bank?
Data bank, yeah.
Continues to be a major beneficiary to all our external borrowings, for which one of the reasons they do not want to even go to IMF, because when you go to IMF, they'll be imposing sanctions and they cannot afford to be adhering to those strict disciplinary actions. And so they rather want to go to the capital market. That is the reason why today we are where we are. They want 6 billion from where? From e-levy. And the e-levy already, we have all been told it is a no-no, because there is never going to be a consensus on agreeing on it.
Don't you think that it would not be far-fetched? It would not be far from the truth if the finance minister says that the minority or the NDC is becoming a naysayer, in the sense that, one, you have kicked against the introduction of e-levy. You're still kicking against it. They have suggested to the legislature for a pay cut, to accept a pay cut. You have kicked against it. You said when you did same you know, some years ago, they never participated, and that you are not going to do it. It looks as if everything government wants to do in order to get us out of this situation, you are not for it.
Have they admitted?
Have you suggested any? Have you provided? If they have not admitted, they wouldn't have been, you see, holding all these press conferences and all of that.
Why are we hammering on some of the things we feel they should do? Why were we crying? You see, when don't pretend not to know why the opposition or the minority was saying certain things. Far back when we were complaining about the president's insensitive, reckless, and irresponsible conduct through the luxurious jet he was flying over with some rumors over how a certain Sawa Bruni and other people were even with her. Did they bother to even pay attention to what Ghanaians were saying that, Mr. President, this was needless and you need to actually leave? But no, the president was living like a headless chicken who was not ready to listen to anybody. And that is one fact we must take. Now, when the minority began screaming, telling them about these things, when Ken Oforiatta was massaging figures, what did they not say? When Honorable Isaac Anogo came out to actually point out all this to them, what did they say? Anything the minority said, they said we were naysayers. Now this is where we are. It has brought us where we need, where it was leading us. And you see, I think that they should stop this crap of thinking that they can use their so-called. You see, where is Dr. Baumia now? Somebody who should be talking most on the economy has suddenly gone mute and dumb. We can't hear much about him. You get it? Now, when we're talking about these matters, how much is the dollar to the cedi now? Or how much is the cedi to the dollar? How much is it now? It's above 8. It has crossed, it has broken, or what was the term they were using?
It has broken
the 8. How much is the pound to the cedi as well? It's over more than 10 cedis. I see. You get my point. How much is a liter of petrol now? It's highest, it's 11 cedis, 30 pesos.
It has been reduced by 15 pesos.
And we dare not even be talking about this because it will make mockery of us. The point is that because even the next window will automatically mean that there's going to be an increment. A regime that was able to tell you and I that they spent 25 billion in cleaning up the banking sector cannot pump 2 billion, 10 billion to salvage the situation at the oil sector to cushion Ghanaians. If we could spend that 25 billion to clean up. And you know, when I was reading what Ken Oforiatta was, his statement to this, some things didn't make sense to me.
What are those that didn't make sense to you?
According to him, we have made export worth over $4 billion and made imports of over $2 billion. If our imports are far less than the exports we are making, then I guess we shouldn't even be crying foul about pressure on our local currency. I do not know. We are just in the first quarter of 2022, and it seems they have already gotten figures for the 2022. If you read what actually he came up with. So to be frank with you, I think the level of mediocrity is the fact that this government or this regime continually has failed to even appreciate the magnitude of the problem they have put us in. It is the reason we are where we are. Have we not been suggesting these solutions to them long before ago? Why is it that it is now they've realized that? You get my point? And isn't it sickening that till date as you and I speak, the toll booths are still not functioning? And I'm telling you, a minimum of 6-7 million cedis monthly.
Elikem, would the minority not be responsible, a responsible minority, or would the NDC not be a responsible opposition by preferring alternative solutions to government rather than kicking against anything that government comes out with?
If you ask that, I have just told you about 2 or 3 of such, and the minority has many. Probably even in the subsequent days, they will come up with more. And we have always professed solutions. You see, there's a certain hypocrisy, especially by the regime, pretending to say, what solutions are you preferring? What solutions are you preferring? Right here, I have given you a couple of solutions. Have we not been talking about opening the land borders long ago?
Okay.
Is that not, that is even...
But finally, that has been done.
Yeah, it has not been done yet. It has still not been done. Economic activity was brought to a halt over there. We're talking about the road tolls that were not being paid. Foreign vehicles also ply our road, destroy our roads. Then you come to the taxpayer to pay more for that. You are talking about pay cuts. And I heard that even the cabinet decided that they are taking a 20 or 30% cut on their allowances. Why can't they be sacrificial enough to say they are forfeiting all of that? Let us see responsible patriotism. Let us see responsible patriotism. The reason why I will support every move by the minority not to do so is this one. When the minority was crying, was warning the regime about this reckless behavior, they didn't mind them. And therefore, if the minority will accept the pay cut, they should rather take that pay cut, go to their respective constituencies, and give it directly to their constituents to help them. Because this regime, and let me close by the words of Nana Akomia, far back in 2015. He said, when the NDC government is failing, then he becomes happy. I'm telling you, I am very optimistic that Ghana will get onto the right track, but not under this regime. Their failure is indeed my happiness. Because there are many people who they deceived with sweet words.
Why should Ghana's failure be your happiness?
Why should that be happy?
It is at the detriment of the development of a nation. 6
years down the lane, they are still blaming John Mahama. 6 years down the lane, everything they say is John Mahama. So why wouldn't they be lost? The reason why the likes of Solomon are is championing the cause of Alan Tremantin probably to outwit Dr. Bawumia. Because Dr. Bawumia has been the pale shadow of himself. He's become a senior presidential staffer over there who does the very jobs that presidential staffers are expected to do.
He's a vice president.
Vice president reduced to that level. A vice president who told us that mobile money doesn't need to be taxed, and his own people immediately are taxing it. So they have kicked him in the groin. He has to go mute. He's going here, commissioning this, doing that, not ready to talk about electronic levy. You get my point, Justice. Look, where we have gotten to is something that was avoidable long before ago. But they have brought us here. And they should have the solutions.
They should have the solutions. I'll come back to you once again. That was Elikem Kotoko, member of the National Democratic Congress Communications Team. Viewers, if you're watching us on Facebook, you can share the Facebook Live for other people to also watch tonight's edition of the program. Rita Appiah, you're watching the program tonight. Good evening to you. Now let me come to Mr. Solomon also. There's also, how did we get here? Prior to the 2016 elections, you said a lot, and we've heard the then vice presidential candidate, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, now vice president of the Republic of Ghana, you know, boasted of his economic prowess and how he was going to turn the economy around should Ghanaians vote for them in the 2016 elections. Ghanaians believed you. They have given you the mandate. We are at the crossroads. How did we get here?
Good evening and thank you very much. Listening to Elikem here, I remembered something that was said to me when I was in Sunday school. That when you are a reserve player, your wish is that a main player on the field fails or hurts so that you can go and play.
I see.
So that is what he ought to do, and he did justice to that. So I don't blame him. It's all part of the politics. How we got here is very simple. If you look at the figures, we took an economy that was growing at 3.64%.
3.64%?
Yes,
okay.
In 2016.
Right.
So when we came between 2017 to 2019, we had doubled our growth to a minimum of 7%.
I see.
And that was how come we were able to access capital in the international market, because the foreign investors had confidence in our economy based on the figures. Unfortunately for us, COVID struck in 2019. And so, don't forget, any investor, before he invests, will rely on what we call collateral.
Right.
As a country, our collateral, the collateral that investors look upon it to invest in our economy, is the level of taxes that we generate. So if you look at our tax mobilization in 2020, we could not mobilize close to 11 billion. At the same time, we were able to spend over 14 billion. If you add these two together, it means we have created a whole of over 25 billion. And that was what carried us into 2021 and to date. So if you are asking me, that is a problem. The whole problem is that, one, the structure of our economy, we are doing our best to shift it from import dependence to productivity. And that is how you see policies like the 1D, 1F, the automobile policy, trying to fix the sugar factory in Commander. My brother was talking, I have listened to...
Now before you continue, you talked about COVID-19 ravaging economies, including that of Ghana. But we all know that under COVID, you have received a lot. Loans, donations, and all of that. I mean, what did you do with the money?
So, I mean, many a times, what we do not explain to the people of this country is every loan that is given, loan or grant that is given to this country comes with conditions. You are directed as to what you use the monies for. I've heard people talk about the World Bank giving us money and we misapplying it. Just last 2 or 3 weeks ago, World Bank actually added $130 million to what they had already advanced to us. If you were not using it prudently or expeditiously, why do you think they added the 130 million? These are all propaganda from our people. Of course, they have to get ways and means of coming back to power. It is not working. So now, whatever they have to say to discredit this government is what they do. Other than that, COVID that gave you 3 billion. Let's even assume that the rate at that time was 6 cities. It means we got only 18 billion.
I see.
Meanwhile, we could not mobilize close to 25 billion. Have we not already created about 7 billion deficit? How do we finance this? And it is very important that the Minister of Finance says something today that all of it has to agitate our minds. A government sends a budget to Parliament, 2022 budget to Parliament. The Parliament approves the estimates. However, the ways to achieve or finance these estimates, they take out the e-levy. So why did we approve the budget in the first place? Knowing very well that to be able to finance the budget that was before you that you approved, you needed to also approve the taxes that went with it. So we are creating the problems together with the minority. Unfortunately, this is the first time we are having a hung parliament, and the way we have used the hung parliament to sabotage the progress of this country is amazing. And I don't envy this country to have such a situation.
Is government not its own enemy? Is government not, you know, the causal agent of all these problems we are facing today? Government not cause these problems? I'm asking because monies that you have received within the space of 5 years, we shouldn't have been where we are. True or false?
See,
you took the, you know, the public debt from 122 billion to now 351 billion, representing 80.1%.
So when we took over,
that's it. Even in COVID, you had met your revenue target. In fact, Ghana Revenue Authority had met its revenue target even in COVID.
Because we reviewed our revenue target downwards.
Wait a minute, the COVID in itself, that you are, the little opportunity you get, you attribute the country's situation to COVID-19. You received a lot of money under COVID, you know, donations, loans and all of that from World Bank and all those things. You had received a lot of money, enough money to be able to handle this country properly. What did you use those monies for us to have gotten to where we are today?
So that is where you even have to applaud this government, that our target was first and foremost to save the lives of the people of this country.
I see.
Which we did beautifully. So in the entire COVID period, only 1,400 and something plus died. It's unfortunate that 1,000 people had to lose their lives, but comparable to or comparing it to other countries, we did far better against countries like the US, the UK, that people thought that they had what it took to protect their people. We did far better with limited resources. So if you're asking me what we did, I'm telling you that we used the resources to save lives of the Ghanaian. Again, we have been talking about we borrowing up to 341 billion. If you look at our GDP at the time we took office, it was 54.5 billion dollars. As we speak, what is our GDP? It is 82 billion. It tells you that the amount that we are borrowing is being used to expand the economy.
I see.
Why do we talk about the loan that we are borrowing without talking about the GDP? If we use the money and say the economy was not growing, then you could make a point. But that
what's the current growth of the economy?
It's just 82 billion. The growth rate is hovering around 5.6, and we are trying very hard to move it up. And that is why, recognizing that there are problems in the economy, the president, through his Minister of Finance, addressed the nation. My brother was talking about that. We are not acknowledging that there are problems in the economy. If we did not acknowledge, why is the Minister of Finance talking everywhere, going around the country, letting the people know that we are in some sort of difficulty? We have acknowledged that, and that is how come you see all the measures that you brought today. The idea is to cut down on expenditure and stabilize the economy so that the growth will continuously move on. What do you expect from any government apart from this? They did yes in the past. I'm very surprised you're criticizing salary cut. That is the most reckless, insensitive, all the adjectives that you could think of.
Right.
When his own leader in 2013 did it, when they asked him, was it a reckless decision then? He said, oh, he did not wait. This country, sometimes my brother, I don't know. It's better he comes to the NPP. Again, he's talking about the border closures.
Why did you wait that long?
No, but you see, we had never experienced, apart from 1918 or so, that the world experienced that sort of crisis. This was the first time me as a human being living in this country had been subjected to this kind of treatment. That you had to sleep in your house, you were not supposed to go out, you have to put some mask on your nose and so on and so forth. We were faced with a challenge. So we needed to take every available step to safeguard the interests of the people of this country. And that is how come the borders were closed. Now things have relaxed. Data has come out. We have realized that the virus is not penetrating as everyone thought. And so time is ripe for us to open the borders. And if the president takes such a decision, why would anybody use that to rather penalize or accuse the government of taking a late decision? And the same people, you remember when this COVID issue came up, their own party, they were rushed, they were insistent that government went to China to bring the Ghanaians that were there. What happened? At the time that we did not even know the nature of the virus, they were calling us to bring them so that we lock the border. From there they said we should lock the borders. Look, they were the people that were saying that. And when you have people who have championed the closure of borders, now telling you that, why are you so late in opening it, then you don't know what really they are looking for. It is important that we are opening it down, and we are going to open it to open businesses.
Now, let's straighten some few things. Prior to the 2016 elections, we had a lot of, campaign promises that were made by the New Patriotic Party.
Such as?
One, you talked about how you are able to turn the economy around. You talked about the fact that there's a lot of money in this country. We are sitting on money, yet we are hungry. The Vice President assured Ghanaians that he worked at the Bank of Ghana before, and that we have a lot of money sitting at the Bank of Ghana, and that the previous government was being so wicked not to have, expended the money on things that will be fruitful to the good people of Ghana. Where's that money? Where are those monies? I mean, where were you seeing those monies before you made those lofty promises?
So before we came to power, we had never experienced anything like COVID. Yet our brothers...
Why must you attribute every single challenge of this country to COVID?
Why must COVID also come during our reign? This is our tenure. We faced it. Is it not a fact that we experienced COVID in this country? Is it not a fact that as a result of COVID, we were made to stay in our homes? Is it not a fact that as a result of COVID, we could not achieve our tax targets?
Didn't you receive enough
to
make up for,
it was
all those problems that were counted?
So long as COVID still lurks around, you cannot take it out of our equations. We still have to relate all our issues to it, so that Ghanaians would appreciate why and how we have come to this far. Unless you want to tell me that during COVID, we were still working in full capacity, which is never so. And so COVID came in and it did not help the country.
You're not the only country that suffered COVID.
And that is why
we have, sister nations. They've all suffered COVID. But of course, their situation is not dire.
Dire. If you look at the inflation rate of the US since 1974. This is the first time we are experiencing an inflation close to 7.9%. If you go to Germany, nobody ever thought that Germany could experience inflation to the extent of 5.1%. Go to UK, go to all the advanced countries. Things are terrible. And so it is not, we are not suffering in isolation. The world has become a global village. And coupled with what is happening in Ukraine, between February 24th, that Russia invaded Ukraine,
right?
What was the price of crude in the world market? And what is the price now? It tells you that things are not helping out matters. Look, the US recently increased its prime rate or interest rate.
Right.
That alone diverted or directed investment from Africa to the US. And so it has made access to funding or capital so expensive that it is depriving African countries of its needed resources or capital for development.
Talk of crude. You are a net producer of crude, true or false?
Yes, we are.
So if there's a problem where the price is gone up on the international market, you should benefit. It should be at your, it should be at your advantage, true or false?
So you know the reason why.
So why is government not using what we are getting from, from oil as net exporters of it to finance, or to cushion Ghanaians when it comes to oil prices at the pump?
So first of all, what is our accrued interest in the oil blocks that we have? It is not anything to write home about. It's not more than 12%. It's hovering around 10%.
I see.
So
12% is enough money.
It's not enough. If you look at our developmental needs. Again, I was reading one of the strategies that government wants to use to stabilize it. Underpinning this petroleum prices is the depreciation of the city. I am very happy government is creating that forex for the importers of petroleum products.
Right.
So that one alone will help the petroleum prices to stabilize. Coupled with the 15 pesos that we have removed from it. We have acknowledged that there are problems. And that is why government is appealing to the good people of this country that these are temporary pain that we have to go through. And that good times definitely will follow the bad times, and that no one must despair, and that we must have confidence in the government that you have shown over the years that this is the government that you believe in to take this country to the promised land. So there is nothing that has changed. We are on course, and I will entreat our brothers in parliament, the opposition NDC, that this is the country that if they are wishing, like my brother Elken was saying, that he's very happy that the government is facing difficulties, they should know that if you don't govern this country well, their survival is even in doubt. If you don't leave, how would you come and govern? So it is incumbent on them to help this government to implement the necessary policies and programs.
Would you attribute the exchange rate also to COVID-19?
See, I have said time and number again that until the structure of the economy is massively
inflation
improved,
is hovering around almost getting to 16%.
Exactly. Yes.
Would you attribute that to COVID also?
To the extent that we are part of the global economy. During COVID, what was production? I mean, inflation is more money chasing fewer goods. So if COVID, people were made to sleep, let me tell you, all those that requested, I'm giving you a scenario in the automobile industry.
Right.
If you ordered for a truck from Germany in 2019, it is now that they have started production. And guess what? Because orders have compounded, now a truck that you were supposed to buy, say, one euro, has shot up. It has shot up to say 2 euro. Is it not inflation that's going to create?
Auditor's General report, or Auditor General's report, indicated that we've lost over 12 billion to misappropriation and all of that.
That is not.
The question is, that is not true.
The Auditor General's report,
what did the Auditor General report say?
It said 12 billion, but to take it hook, line, and sinker like that, it doesn't give you the true picture. Auditor General's report, when it comes, it is not final. That is why we have always Public Accounts Committee. So what we ought to go for is what the Public Accounts Committee says about the Auditor General's report. Sometimes about accounting procedures. Then it is reported that money has been misapplied. How is it that misapplied? So always let us rely on the Public Accounts Committee after Auditor General's report has been presented, so that we get the true picture. Do you believe for a moment that civil servants misapply 12 billion and still be launching around freely? It doesn't happen.
It is incumbent on government to search out those persons.
And that's what I'm saying, that
to pay back the money.
And that's what
to
I'm
the
saying,
state.
that when you go into the Public Accounts Committee, you have no basis whatsoever to search out them. Erroneous reports have been presented.
You think that the report is very erroneous?
Oh, a lot.
I see.
That's why I say we must always go in for the Public Accounts Committee. If the Auditor General's report was that final, why would the committee sit on it to deliberate on it? They have presented their story, and that is why individuals that are cited in the Auditor General's report are given the opportunity to clear their names at the Public Account Committee, explain it further. And most of them, when they go to the Public Accounts Committee, their explanations negate whatever is put there at the Auditor General's report. So don't let us assume, and I have heard the NDC from time immemorial, when you take any Auditor General's report, it runs through misapplication, misappropriation.
Right.
Yes, when you go to the Public Accounts Committee, these issues are cleared.
I see. All right. I'll come back to you. Viewers, you're still watching Hot News right here on Pan African Television with me, Justice Appiah. I'll read some of your messages, so keep them coming in. I'll come back and read those messages you've left on Facebook and on our WhatsApp line. I'll read all those out for you. Now, let me come to you, Elikem.